I have a little shift for you. It's a little, not so little shift that may or may not seem obvious when I share it. But when I tell you, this was such an aha moment for me last year when it first came into my awareness, and it's something that I'm actively practicing now. It has changed my life. We're back, baby, with a brand new season of the It's Fucking Spiritual podcast. Join us each week as we have unfiltered conversations about how to transform your life. Our mission is to usher in a new era of spirituality where you don't have to be all love and light to live a life of alignment. Here, we honor all of it, the profound and the profane, the magic and the messy, and all things that make you human. So let's discuss the truth behind transformation and be unapologetic in our evolution. From manifestation to money, embodiment to energy, and all taboo topics, nothing is going to be off limits. Are you ready to live a life that feels just as good as it looks? Let's get fucking spiritual. Hello, my loves. Welcome back to another episode of the It's Fucking Spiritual podcast. We're back at it again today with a solo episode, just the two of us. It's going to be short and sweet. And I was thinking about what I wanted to do the episode on today. And a lot of you guys really liked the unhinged episode that I did a couple of weeks ago. You messaged me and said that you were feeling the same way. And if you didn't catch that episode, basically, I was showing up pretty messy, with not a lot of makeup, wet hair, and it was an off the cuff, spur of the moment, just talk that I wanted to come on here and chat with you about. And it was about this idea that, in the healing space, in the self-development space, the mindset space, there can be this idea that we always need to be healing. And sometimes that can feel really fucking dense. And it can feel really heavy. And when I went on this path of somatics and nervous system regulation and like really being in my body, felt like I got really serious there for a minute. And while I love that side of myself, I'm really also dedicated to like still having levity and lightness and humor and fun and just not be addicted to healing all the time. And I think that there is kind of a trap in the healing space. And it's this idea that we have to always be healing, or we get addicted to always healing. And for some of us, not for everyone, but maybe you'll resonate with this, is this certainly happened for me, is that when we are in the depths of, our trauma responses, or we have certain addictions. For me, I would never say I was an addict by any means, but I was a partier in my early 20s. And I was certainly an abuser of substances. And I was just addicted to drama. I was addicted to carrying out different self-sabotaging patterns that I wouldn't have called them addictions at the time. At the time, I was like, oh, this isn't a problem, until I really zoomed out and was like, oh, this is not conducive to the actual life that I want to live. And a lot of us have that rock bottom moment, whatever that is for you. For me, it was, certainly just not treating my body well and not having the right friends around me and not doing things that living in my purpose, right? Not even knowing what my purpose was, not feeling fulfilled. And I hit a rock bottom, and then I found healing. And I've been on that journey now for 6 years. And somewhere along the way, I started to realize, oh, wow, I traded my addictions to not being, my addiction to substances, really, and my addiction to bad relationships and my addiction to my trauma for addiction to healing. And I think there's this tendency to always be asking, like, what do I need to let go of? What do I need to change? What do I need to shed? What's the next layer of my healing? And all of those things are well and good. Those questions are helpful, very helpful. And they can really help you to identify where your shadow is, identify where you're blocked, right? But there's also this underlying idea or tone when you're constantly asking yourself, where am I blocked? What are my limiting beliefs? What are the things that are standing in the way from what I want, right? There's a time and place for that, but it's also an undertone of like, I am not enough, or something is wrong with me, or something is wrong with this circumstance. And this was actually a big breakthrough that I had a year ago. And um, it's something that I think about a lot. And I wanted to actually do an episode on this. So if you are somebody that feels like you are constantly healing, you are in this healing trap, constantly doing the shadow work, constantly journaling on what's in your way, constantly thinking on what you need to do to get to the next level, I have a little shift for you. It's a little, not so little shift that may or may not seem obvious when I share it. But when I tell you, this was such an aha moment for me last year when it first came into my awareness, and it's something that I'm actively practicing now. It has changed my life. And it blends somatics, and it blends nervous system, and it blends embodiment. And let me just tell you, okay, instead of asking yourself, what do I need to let go of? What is blocking me? Which calibrates you to the block. Again, good answers, but still, are good questions to ask. But instead of asking that, ask yourself, how can I tap into my power? What would my power feel like in this moment? How can I breathe in like and expand, feeling myself fully empowered in this moment? How would I show up? What would I say? What would my posture be? How would I move through the world? And you hear this, right? Like you'll hear acting as if, like who you want to be, how would you dress, how would you show up? But I'm not saying it just from that surface level. I'm saying feel it in your bones, in your body. It's not just enough to like, let me write out like the dream version of me and how would she act, right? Even though that's a good step one to awareness, but you actually have to feel it in your body. And that's the somatic side of it. So how I came to this realization, I've told this story, I think not on my podcast before, but I've told it on some other podcasts. And basically a year ago, I was in a breathwork ceremony during a retreat. And yeah, this was, gosh, I think March 2023. So yeah, this was almost exactly a year ago. And I always set an intention before I go into any breathwork ceremony. Like before I do anything, I always set an intention. And I realized that it just came to me like, wow, I'm always asking when I go into breathwork, like, what do I need to let go of? What do I need to release? What is blocking me? I just instead thought to myself, what if I set the intention? How do I tap into my power? And in that session, I had a very profound experience where I was like breathing and I was breathing in my power and from my power, like from breathing that in, all of a sudden I started to have these visions. And I wouldn't say they were like, it wasn't like a psychic vision. It was just like these pictures coming to me in my mind. When, if you've ever done breath work, sometimes it can kind of be like a psychedelic experience, but this was like just images were coming to me in my mind's eye, I guess you could say, like in my mind. And suddenly I'm like breathing in my power. And then I'm seeing my grandma on my left and my father on my right, who both have passed on. And then from there, I'm seeing like almost as if I'm in the center point and this like triangle of people are behind me, starting with my grandma and my father. And then it just like, I'm seeing all of my ancestors and thousands of people from thousands and thousands of years, like all culminating to one point, which is me in that moment. All that had to like live through what they lived and all had beliefs and experiences and traumas and a power within them. And I saw all of their power becoming my power and all of my father's power becoming me, my power. And I like let this fill my body and being. And I literally was like open to the somatic experience of feeling the immense amount of wisdom coming through them into me. And if you're like, what the fuck is this episode? Like, this is really woo, Rachel, this is weird. Just stick with me. It was from asking that different question that I had a different felt experience. And I started to realize that if we begin to ask ourselves different questions throughout the day, ask ourselves, what would it look like if I showed up in my power in this moment? How would that feel? And like, you literally have to practice it. You have to practice the feeling of being the embodiment of the version of you that would show up in her power, of the version of you that would show up as the most empowered version. And it's not enough to like see it in your mind. You have to feel it in your body and in your cells and in your soul. And so this is something that I've been practicing from that very moment, because I literally felt the experience of like just how much had to happen in the universe, in the world, on the planet. Every single moment is profound when you think of it like that, of like the people that had to meet like thousands of years ago in order for you to be here now. So it's not just me, like borrow that, like think of all of the people, all of the lineage that every single thing that had to happen and reorient in order for you to be able to be here, sitting here right now, listening to this podcast in the way that you are. And then tell me that you're not powerful. So there was a reorientation that happened for me when I had this experience. And I know that we hear, ask yourself more empowering questions, you'll get a better answer. But something shifted and clicked for me that day when I had the felt experience in my body of feeling my own power. And so I wanted to sit down and share with you this episode as kind of like a part 2 to that unhinged episode of just talking about if we're constantly in this healing trap, we're constantly asking what we need to let go of, or we constantly need to be in the next ceremony, instead of actively just practicing what it would feel like to be in our power and operate in our power. One of the ways that I do this, so if we look at this on a practical level, one of the ways that I will do this is y'all are gonna like maybe think I'm crazy or kind of love this, but if you want to have a felt experience of your own power, literally go to Spotify and type in motivational songs, no music. Okay? Or no music, no words. Motivational songs with no words. And music is a generator of energy. And so if you want to generate and cultivate a certain feeling, you can do that. One of the ways to do that is through music. And literally practice with this music on. Literally practice like walking around your room with your shoulders back in the embodiment, like almost as if this is your fucking theme song, okay? Because it is. Like you are the main character of your movie. You are the main character of your life, of your show. Like this is you are the star. You are the star. And practice being that. Embodiment of that. I take it a step further and I literally speak to myself in the mirror as if I'm like speaking on a stage, just speaking to you guys. And whether or not that feels comfortable for you, try it on. But that's my medium. That's how I like to express, is through speaking. Obviously, I'm a podcaster. Like this, that's a thing that I do. But you have to get into the body of having a felt experience. It is not enough to journal about the ways that you would act. Another thing and another way to tap into your power is to visualize yourself the night before, waking up in an empowered state and going throughout your morning feeling so embodied and empowered. Like, what would you do? How would you move? How would you set yourself up for a really bomb morning if you're not a morning person like me? Like I literally, like this is something that is challenging for me. So I literally rehearse it the night before of like how I want to be. And I get that so felt in my body that I begin to practice that over and over in the mornings. I do the same thing before I come on camera here. I get in the embodied experience of my power before I speak, before I lead my group programs. There's something so incredible about allowing yourself the felt experience of being in your power and asking yourself more empowering questions rather than constantly being addicted to the healing of what do I need to let go of, what limiting beliefs are in my way. Because here's the thing, yes, it's great for us to like dig in and dredge into the trenches and go into our limiting beliefs and have awareness of the stories. And you could be self-aware and have awareness of your stories all damn day and be stuck in that cycle perpetually. And until you have a shift in your embodiment, a shift in your state of being, it's really hard to operate a different way. Or you are at the mercy of how you feel, and how you feel dictates how you operate. And what I want to offer is, by asking yourself how I can be more empowered and then practicing that empowered state, you're no longer at the mercy of how you feel. You are the one generating feeling. You are the one generating energy. So try it. Try it. I hope that shifted something for you. And maybe, some of you might be like, yeah, no shit, Rachel, and some of you are going to be like, oh my God, that was such a big aha moment. Because it was a big aha moment for me. And I know this work, I teach this work. I know, ask yourself more empowering questions. And yeah, ask myself empowering questions, but I'm journaling on it. I'm not having I wasn't having the deep felt experience of it unless I was at the mercy of how I was feeling. And some days I was feeling really empowered, and other days, of course I still have my human moments, but practicing the shift in state gives you the embodied felt experience. And we can practice being in our power. And sometimes I think that's way more powerful than shifting and letting go of all the things. Because here's the thing, when you shift your state, when you shift your frequency, you shift your state, you shift your embodiment, you're in a different part of yourself. Those things are falling away. Those old limiting beliefs are falling away. You're not operating in the operating system of the part of you that has the limiting beliefs, a part of you that's the wounded inner child, right? You are calibrated over here. If you're watching me on video, I'm talking with my hands a lot today. But yeah, you're calibrated to that whole part of you, or the wholeness of you, I should say. And yeah, it's just a completely different experience. So practice tapping into that frequency. It's something that we're doing inside my group program in Expand right now, is literally practicing shifting the frequency, shifting the state, and feeling all of the things, but really getting an embodied experience of what it feels like to feel differently through your body. And if you're somebody that wants to get on the wait list for Expand the next time that we do the next round, definitely go into the show notes and put yourself on the wait list for Expand, because it is such a powerful program. Getting to practice these tools and practice shifting your state in real time and having a safe space in order to do that, and to not have to practice this on your own. So definitely get on the wait list for that if it's calling you. And yeah, wow, that's it. That's all I wanted to say today. Practice asking yourself more empowering questions and embodying the state, and allow it to feel weird. Allow yourself to feel silly. Put on that music and talk to yourself in the mirror and change your body posture, and see what that does for your life. Okay. I will see you in the next episode. Thank you for listening to the It's Fucking Spiritual podcast. I am so glad that you're here. And if this episode resonated with you, I invite you to share this with a friend that you feel needs to hear it. And if you are really feeling the love and support for this show, this podcast thrives off of your listens and your reviews. So I would love if you could leave us an honest review. We would love to hear your feedback, your thoughts, your questions, and it helps us get this podcast in the hands of more people and would mean so much to me to receive your support. So thank you.